All right, it's time for us to have a conversation on parenting. And today promises to be really interesting, especially if feeding your children has been a cause of concern lately. Should we try new food or punish our children when they refuse to eat? That's the question today. And to do justice on that via parenting, we will definitely have Oluyemisi Agoro. As a matter of fact, she is right here. She's an astute HR professional with almost 10 years multi-industry experience. She's a well-experienced career woman, obviously, as well as a mother, and she is passionate about listening to and, of course, sharing motherhood ideas with mothers who need them. And so if you're a mother or a father who might need it, she's here with us. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Okay, so picky eating. First off, let's establish what exactly is picky eating.
Okay, so picky eating, it's a myriad of, it's a range, right? But basically it's defined as when children are averse to certain foods, either because it tastes funny, it looks funny, it smells funny, they just don't like the idea of it, and so they refuse to eat it.
So that is the definition of picky eating.
Yes, please.
Now, let's talk about what to do if you find out you have a picky eater as a parent. So many parents, on average, will just flog that child and say, see, it is what I have, you will eat. And it is as I've given you, you must consume it. But then you're begging to differ.
I am begging to differ. It's because, you have to first find out the reason why the child is a picky eater. For some children, it just may be that the food does not tickle their fancy. They just rather not. And those children react like, oh, I don't want it. And then you can easily convince them like, oh, just try, and they'll eat. But for some children are sensitive to textures, and that's the other extreme end. And when you put the food they don't want in their mouth, they gag and they choke. If you beat that child, it's counterproductive. The child is helpless at that point, right? So it's really a range. Your response will depend on the spectrum of picky eating your child is on.
So when you talk about spectrum, what do you mean by spectrum?
Like I said, there's the easy ones where, they just don't feel like this rice is green. I'd prefer orange rice,
So do you use food coloring then?
No, green rice in this case is fried rice.
Yeah.
And orange rice is cold foods. Oh, madam.
Very interesting names.
Yeah, I know, right? So sensitivity issue, they are sensitive to textures of food.
Allergies or even.
There are allergies as well. My child's pediatrician actually says that when a child refuses a food, for no reason, it may just be the child's natural defenses kicking in, preventing an allergic reaction.
So now you've established that, okay, we shouldn't spank the child, right?
Oh, no, you shouldn't.
So what do we do?
Okay, so you can go from familiar foods to unfamiliar food. Let them get comfortable. If they like mashed potatoes and sauce, you can graduate from that to potatoes and fish sauce. Then you can graduate from that to potatoes and eggs. Then you can graduate from that to eggs and something else. You ease them into it because it's a whole transition. It's a huge deal, right? And you don't, spanking is counterproductive. I think that has already been established. You basically have to help them overcome whatever their hang-up is about the food, But it takes time and a lot of patience and a lot of frustration on the parents' end too. But hey, that's why you're the parent, Abby.
Yeah, but many parents are very busy these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you have, you spend a lot of money getting different meals for your child. And then when the child is supposed to eat, the child says, I don't want this, or picks out the onions, or picks out the carrots that the child needs to grow well. It can be really frustrating, which is why some parents just hit out. They're actually angry, so they're lashing out.
Oh, yes.
So if a parent that doesn't have that time, so to speak, to help the child, find out what works and what doesn't, what should such a parent do?
Just cook what they like. Just make it as nutrient-dense as possible and as balanced as possible. So if you need to hide carrots inside by blending the carrots and, you know what I mean? Like, I hide veggies in my son's food. I blend carrots and I mix it in his oats or something because he likes oats, but he doesn't like carrots. But he needs vitamins.
But then he will taste the carrots and then he will say he doesn't want it.
I'll explain it away.
You explain it away.
Oh yes, it's tasting somehow. It's just today, just eat it. You know, you just do what you have to do. You make the foods as nutrient dense as possible so that the little they eat, at least it's balanced and it can work.
Yeah, just as an aside, one thing I learned recently was some children, it might not even be that they are choosy about food. They might just be choosy about temperature. Yeah. Some children cannot stand cold food, while some cannot stand hot food. And they can eat anything, but just because of that. And then you as a parent, because you're not patient, you lose out. Because you think, this child is he's a picky eater. No picky eater. You know, I just don't want my food at a certain temperature.
Which is normal. So what you have to understand is that children mirror adults' behavior. There are adults that cannot eat cold food.
Yes.
In fact, there are adults that cannot eat hot food. There are adults that cannot eat yesterday's rice.
Yeah.
That's the same way children have preferences. You know, but because they have serious nutritional needs, you have to find a way to work around their preferences and give them as balanced a diet as possible.
You know what, Oluyemisi Agoro, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoyable conversation. Thank you.
So much.